Hey everyone, I've got a really quick thing to tell you before we get into the show. Right now, roosterteeth.com has first memberships on discount. That's right, you can use a special code to get a year of first membership for $45. That's 35% off. All you got to do is go to roosterteeth.com/signup and use the code FIRST45. And then you can use that first membership to watch some really cool stuff we have up on the site, like, Haunter or Weird Place. You can listen to podcasts without ads on them. It's pretty cool, and it supports us directly. So give that a shot. Again, roosterteeth.com/signup. Use FIRST45 as the promo code, and get yourself a year first. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Annual Pass. This is the podcast where we talk about all things rides, attractions, shows. If it happens in a theme park, it happens here on Annual Pass. I'm your host, Jack Pattillo, and of course, joining me as always are my lovely, talented, and beautiful co-host, Geoff Ramsey and PK. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hello, Jack.
We're recording a little bit late today, so energy might be a little different. Geoff has his golf ball.
This is hour 11 of my workday today.
It's been a long day. We've got a very special guest on the show today. We'll get to him in just a second. Real quick, thank you very much, everyone, for listening and watching Annual Pass. YouTube.com/Annual Pass. If you want to watch us live, you can see me rocking my Everest shirt because I'm going running after this.
Okay.
On Mount Everest?
Yeah, I'm going running on Mount Everest.
Wow.
No, this is my Everest shirt I got for running in the Run Disney 5K, or I think 5 or 10. Which one was it?
It says 5.
5K, yeah, 5K. And so I'm going to go running. I'm training because I've got the run. I've got the Disney marathon weekend in January.
The Disney marathon thing that people that like to do when they hate themselves. Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
It just struck me for the first time that he might be lying about this whole deal.
What?
You think he's fibbing?
I mean, he's
You're a
he's
fibber?
won a 5K. I guess
I mean,
he
you
did a
could
5K.
Did you get that off Craigslist?
He can take the same photos at the 5K as he does at the marathon,
That's
right?
smart. All you have to do is just change the year.
Yeah.
You are you guys. Anyway.
Wow.
So watch
startling
us,
revelations at
YouTube.com/Annual Pass. You can check us out over there. Also on TikTok, we are Annual Pass Pod over on TikTok. We're also on social media stuff, Annual_Pass on the Twitters and the Instagrams. Go follow us over there for all the good stuff. And grab some merchandise. We have some new merchandise up in the store. Our new spooky stuff. It's store.roosterteeth.com. You can grab our new shirt, including the one that has all of we're like the Universal Classic Monsters. It's so cool.
I love it.
I'm Frank. It's so nice. So, but anyway, we have a very, very fun episode planned today. We are recording late for us today. It's actually about 6 o'clock at night because we have a guest who is on the other side of the planet. So we have our friend
Australia.
No, close, a little bit further north.
New Zealand.
I thought you were going to say New York for some reason.
That is another world. So
we have Chris, who is he's TDR Explorer over on YouTube, and he is a Japanese theme park vlogger. Excuse me, he vlogs about Japanese theme parks, I should say. And Chris, welcome to Annual Pass. We are so happy to have you here today.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's kind of early here.
Yeah, it's funny. Our security, when we were walking in, he's like, "What are you doing here so late?" It's like, "Oh, we're talking to a guy in Japan. And it's like 8 a.m. over there." So he's like, "Oh, that's cool." So I'm glad we were able to work this out. It's been sort of a back and forth until we could find a time that worked for all of us, because we didn't want to make you wake up at like 4 a.m. to do a podcast. That would be a bit cruel. But I'm very, very excited to talk to you today. So you do a lot of theme park vlogging over in Japanese parks. So all the parks over there. How did you get your start doing that?
Kind of by accident, I guess. I initially moved to Japan, oh gosh, it's going to be close to 9 years ago.
Okay.
And my plan was to be here for just a year. Very classic story to a lot of people that live here.
So I've heard.
And I was always a theme park person. And when I figured out that I could go to like Tokyo Disneyland, Universal Studios Japan, much easier here, because I'm from Canada originally. Theme parks are a little sparse in that country. So being able to come to Tokyo Disneyland and Universal, it was very, very novel for me. So I decided to get annual passes, and I started going, and I just started blogging about it. Just what I was doing. There was no real plan. And then eventually I found that people wanted to know more about the parks here, because there wasn't a lot of information at the time in English, especially updated information on how things run here. So it just kind of started to pick up. And then eventually it just kind of took off on me. I started doing YouTube videos, and here we are.
Now, before you started this, were you a theme park enthusiast? Like way back in Canada, were you going to theme parks and like keeping up with the news and the lore and stuff? Or was that something you kind of fell in love with through Tokyo theme parks or Japanese theme parks?
I was kind of a late bloomer, I guess, for theme parks, specifically, I guess, Disney theme parks. It wasn't until 2010 when I first went to a Disney park.
Oh, wow.
Just because where we grew up, or like where I grew up in Canada, in Saskatchewan, it was really hard to get to either coast in the US. It wasn't cheap. So we just never went as a family. But I do remember growing up, I was always excited for the summer fair with all the rides and things like that. Like I was so excited to the point where I couldn't sleep as a child, the night before. So I guess kind of thinking about it now, I guess it was kind of natural that I was going to gravitate towards that at some point.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being a late bloomer to it. I still haven't bloomed. They tell me it's going to happen.
We're waiting.
Here, I'm 47 and I'm still waiting to bloom.
Yeah, Jeff went to his very first Disney park right before COVID, or I guess right at the beginning of the pandemic, right before everything kind of shut down.
Well, I had gone to Disney World as a child, though.
Okay, that's true. He did go, for what it's worth, he went to Epcot in 82, like the year it opened.
Wow.
So but he didn't realize it. He was like a little kid.
Yeah, it meant nothing to me.
Oh, you hurt my soul, Jeff. Why?
Oh, man. So
I was 7. What did I care?
So that's pretty cool. So this is something that has kind of turned into, it went from something that you just kind of had fun with to now it's like, it's a huge thing. Like your channel's fantastic. And I know I've watched a bunch of your videos because, I'm sure a lot of theme park fans here in the States, especially, want to go to the Japanese parks. We pretty much started the show. Between us, the reason why I started Annual Pass was mainly to go to Japan and have my company pay for it, and actually be able to go to all the parks out there. I still have yet to go out to Tokyo at all, and there's so many great parks out there, and I always see these amazing videos of cool stuff. Like Tokyo DisneySea alone is worth going out just to check out and spend a whole week out there. It feels like. But that's wild. So how many people do you think are just doing that, sort of living vicariously through you that watch your content?
It seems like a lot. I get a lot of comments, especially during the pandemic. A lot of people were kind of living through me, and others have been doing kind of the same thing. Because I guess as of this recording, Japan is still kind of closed. To tourists. So
I've been trying to get over there. They won't let me.
Yeah, I would say there's quite a few, a lot of people.
Yeah. It certainly feels like, too, especially like as a fan of theme parks and whatnot, we just had D23 here in the States, which is Disney's big conference where they announce a bunch of cool stuff coming out. And it felt like all the sort of North American parks were kind of slim pickings, but it feels like all the overseas parks are like, hey, we're doing all this cool stuff. And, as most people, or as a lot of people know, Tokyo Disney is actually run by a different group. It's not owned by the Disney company. They basically just kind of license everything out to a different company running it. And that company is dropping money. They're putting cool new stuff, and that's why it feels like that park is always top of the line, newest, coolest stuff. And it is pretty frustrating as an American, living in America, watching the parks here, kind of they're going oh, they're good enough, don't worry about it. But seeing you guys eat healthy over there is it's very frustrating for me, I gotta say. Seeing all the cool stuff coming out to Japan.
That's the cool stuff? The eating healthy?
Yeah, well, I'm saying the parks they got stuff coming. They're redesigning Tomorrowland. Okay. We've got Tron that's been sitting there being built for the past 30 years, it feels like at this point. Not even opening this year, it's opening next year. There's people riding it right now, and they're not even opening it this year. What is going on here? Anyway, the train's still not up and running. It feels like Magic Kingdom's kind of been left in the dust, and it feels like the Tokyo parks, even the Paris parks are getting stuff now.
What?
Well, in Paris right now, they're already expanding all of the Avengers Campus stuff. They have a drone show over there in Paris, which they don't have anywhere else,
I don't
surprisingly.
think that's legal here, so.
Disney can kind of do whatever they want in their own backyard in Florida.
You're right.
So... But yeah, here in the States, not a lot's going on. What is the biggest thing? What would you say is the biggest difference between the Tokyo parks versus the American parks? I'm sure there's major cultural differences. And what was the biggest thing that kind of struck you when you started going to those places?
I would say the orderliness. Is that a word?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just how everything was very in order, very clean, very neat, a lot of attention to detail. And this is no shade to the U.S. parks, but when I go to the U.S. parks, I'm like, oh, okay.
It's okay.
Kind of my reaction.
Shade those U.S. parks.
Please do.
Just disgusting, slovenly hellholes.
I gotta ask. So, the toilets, man. How awesome are the bathrooms in Disneyland? Okay, I gotta ask.
That's your question?
Come on. All
We
right,
have a
if you
gentleman
know,
here.
Ben will vouch. If you know.
Okay.
Listen, Japan is onto something novelty with their bathroom etiquette and their toilet situation. Like, it is next level. We are living an impoverished life here. So I need to know, is it that good in the park, or is it just like same old hole in the ground? I'm fine with that. I've done that in public places. I just need to know. Let
me put it this way. I would rather, so if I'm at like the US parks, I'd rather go back to my hotel to do my business. But whereas here, I have no qualms whatsoever.
Coolin'. I'm sorry. I just needed to know. I needed to know.
They're good. They're really good.
Now, it's so for someone like me, so I'm like, I a very, very large American dude. Like if I went over to the parks out in Tokyo, like would I have issues getting around there? Like I'm very naive, and would I be able to like walk around and be able to like understand where I'm at? Like,
can he fit through doors?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard like I don't know if it's in China or in Japan.
That's a good question.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, would I be able to like someone who doesn't speak Japanese, like would I be able to get through the park?
Will they be horrified by my presence?
But like, would I be able to manage myself through the park? Like, it's there's times where things are different. Like they're built for different cultures.
No, you're right. You go to Florida and most of the street signs are in English, but then when you drive to Miami, they turn into Spanish.
Yeah.
Is it like that at Disney? I'm curious. It's got to be maybe a little half and half.
Yeah,
people speak English.
Like when I went to Paris, like it was like literally half English and half in French.
Okay.
How many signs are in Spanish at Tokyo Disney?
All right. That's a good question.
I think there's a couple actually at DisneySea.
There you go.
Awesome.
Because there's a Lost River Delta area. That's like South America.
Is DisneySea as cool as it seems?
Yes. It's not an exaggeration.
Straight answer.
They have that like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride there that I saw in the Imagineering documentary. It looks so... It made me want to bloom a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Just a little.
Yeah.
Just a little.
One pedal.
Come out of your shell a little bit. It is interesting because, like the Florida park and even California to some extent, they're very like insulated from the rest of the world, where it feels like the Tokyo parks, you can see stuff outside of there. You can see like at DisneySea, you can see like the bay and you can see ships going by and stuff.
Okay.
And I mean, to me, that's kind of, I don't know if is that really immersion breaking, Chris, or is that kind of, you just sort of get used to it when you're in the parks?
You kind of get used to it because you can see Mount Fuji from DisneySea if you go on the SS Columbia. So you can see Mount Fuji way in the distance.
Wow.
You can see the Tokyo Sky Tree as well from DisneySea. I feel like Disneyland's a little easier or a little more, I guess, lower. Mm-hmm. So you can't really see outside of it. But DisneySea, there's a lot of like high points. So you can see outside the parks and stuff a little bit easier.
Oh, they were so smart with the branding.
Yeah.
DisneySea.
Does it feel... That's once again very funny.
Thank you.
Does it feel like a Disney park, DisneySea? Does it? I mean, are you immediately immersed in the world of Disney? Does it feel authentic and just like I guess like we would experience here?
Traditionally, no. Like if you weren't told it was Disney, you would have to kind of really look for it, I guess, because it's not like there's Mickey plastered everywhere. So it's not immediately apparent that it's a Disney park.
Yeah, that is interesting because there's another podcast I was listening to and they were talking about different stuff that happened at D23. And one of the things that's coming to Tokyo is they're actually building a new Walt statue where it's Walt sitting on a bench with Mickey and like Walt's pointing. The idea it's where Walt kind of got the idea to build Disneyland out in California. There's a bench across from a park and he's like, oh, I should make a park for kids and adults. And they were pointing out, it's like, do Japanese people care about Walt Disney at this point? Or is it just kind of like... And I'm like that's more for Disney super nerds like us, or is that like is he known as a figure out there, or is it just kind of like whatever? We know Disneyland, but we don't know the people behind it.
People know who he is, but I don't think he has as strong of like a hold here. I guess like there's no cultural ties to him here. It's just like this person that invented Disneyland, and that's pretty much it.
So what your average person going into the park, would they know who Walt Disney is, or there's like, oh, it's someone named after this park?
I don't think most people would know. Yeah, I don't think the casual person would know. They would know who Mickey is. Yeah, that's probably about the extent.
I would hope so. Man, well, okay, so we've talked a lot about Disney, but let's talk about Universal too. So, especially right now, Halloween Horror Nights is going on out in Universal Studios here in Florida and Hollywood, but also there's Halloween Horror Nights out in Universal Japan as well. And can you talk about the experience out there? Because I'm curious to know sort of the cultural differences and how the parks handle it differently, because there's a lot of stuff out there that we're not getting in the States, and I'm curious if you know any of the differences.
So I've only been to Horror Nights in Orlando, so that's really the only thing I can compare to.
Okay.
Because that's the biggest one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So good enough. I guess probably the biggest thing that I find I always have to explain to people is Horror Nights at Universal Studios Japan is on every single day, and it's included with your park ticket. So it's not an after hours event or anything. It happens during the day and the evening. So the park runs normally, but then there's added houses, and in the evening the zombies and stuff come out. So you don't have to pay for anything extra, which is to me that's nice. Really good value.
Yeah.
Is the park open later than normal, or is it still just normal operating hours?
Normal operating hours, and the biggest reason for that is mainly because of public transportation. Okay. People need to get home because the trains end around midnight, and everyone needs to get back. So
they're at their end destination at midnight. Not you can get on the train at midnight. No more trains.
Man, that's so wild. You can't just go rent a car in Japan and drive it around?
You can sleep under a bridge like I might have until they open up in the morning and have to go back.
You're a bridge person?
Please don't sleep under a bridge, BK.
Listen, you do what you got to do when you're in Osaka City, okay? It was a rough night, all right?
Well,
don't judge her.
Thank you, Dad.
Well, that's fascinating because for me, in the Halloween Horror Nights, at least in Orlando, the park's open sort of up, it's kind of a shorter normal operating hours. Usually closes around 5 or 6. And then they essentially clear the park and they reopen as Halloween Horror Nights. And open to 2 a.m. And it feels like a different park. From if you're there during the day and then you're there at night, it feels like a radically different park. So that is kind of interesting that it's all included. And so with that, it has all of the houses as well. And are they big kind of blowout houses like they have in the States? Do you know that?
There's a bunch of buildings that they kind of put them all in, and they're kind of tucked away. So you can easily just miss them if you're not looking, because we don't have the big facades like the U.S. parks where they're all these big grand things. Whereas ours are a little more subtle. There will be signage and stuff, but if a normal guest didn't realize it was going on, they could just look at it and just think, "Oh, what's that?" and then just carry on with their day. But it is kind of weird going through, let's say, the Cult of Chucky house at 10 in the morning. It's very strange.
You got your Starbucks and just this little figures trying to kill you.
How scary are they? Because anecdotally, I find Japanese horror to be far scarier than American horror. So I would think that, the Japanese scare houses would be much, much scarier.
I guess it depends on who you ask. Some people say it's really tame. Some people think it's horrifying. For me, I guess it kind of depends. They're not doing it this year, but they've done stuff with The Ring. So the
I want no some more.
Good night.
I'm good. No
thank you.
I'm good.
You do The Ring and The Grudge, I'm out.
No, The Grudge. No.
I hope they bring it back next year, because it's one of the classic things, but they're not doing it this year because things aren't back to normal here just yet. But what they would do is they would have The Ring show, but they would overlay it over the Terminator show, because we still have Terminator 2 here.
Oh my God.
Okay.
So they would have, I can't remember what her name is in English, but the woman in the red jacket would come out and do the whole comedy bit at the start of Terminator 2.
Okay.
And then everyone would go into the theater, and the Terminator stuff would happen. But with The Ring, she would come out and start doing her bit, but then the lights would go out and come back on, and Sadako, the woman from The Ring, would be there, in her place. Then we would go into the movie theater, and the woman in red would start again, but then things would change to The Ring. The screen would turn on, and there would be the big, the well.
Yeah.
And then everything would just be really quiet. You just hear these noises.
Is it the fly?
And she starts coming out, and then she comes out of the screen, and it's this whole thing, and it's wonderful, and I miss it.
No,
It's
it sounds
great.
awesome, but also I probably would have pissed myself.
Yeah, so that sounds great. That sounds great for you.
Like, that sounds great. That's awesome. That should be every year, but also I'm so good. Like, no, thank you.
One of the most unique things we have here. So I guess a little backstory. So we have scare zones, just like in the U.S. parks, and some of them are very uniquely Japanese. So there's this one scare zone that they created a few years ago. And it was based off of like the idol groups. So, the big J-pop idols like AKB48, HKT48, like all these big groups.
That sounds
so they
very
made this
scary.
like zombie zone based off of them. And so you would have like all these cute looking zombies, but they would have knives. They'd be dripping in blood, their faces mangled, whatever. And they would even do, they haven't done it since, after everything that's happened in the world a few years, but they used to do this mock handshaking event. Because in Japan, it's not really a thing anymore, but with these idol groups, they used to do handshaking events where you got to shake hands with your favorite J-pop idol.
Like a meet and greet.
That was,
Okay.
Yeah, it was basically a meet and greet, but you got to touch them, and that sounds really weird when you say it out loud. There's a reason why they stopped doing it, but they were doing that in the park at Universal for a little bit, where you could shake the zombie's hand, and they would like grab you and pull you in and like stare you down. Like, it was a really weird experience, but one of them had like a cute teddy bear, and this teddy bear had like its eye was out of its socket. Its guts were kind of like hanging out, but the guts were candy, but he was covered in blood. And he just kind of became our icon for Horror Nights.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
So this year they made him a big spectacle. So there's like this big stage dance party with, his name is Hamikuma. Hami means to like, to hang, to protrude. So it's like, it's talking about his guts hanging out, and Kuma means bear. So like protruding bear, I guess if you want to translate it, like something like that. And he has this, it's called the Hamikuma Psycho Circus. And all the main like leaders of all the scare zones, because every scare zone has a leader, and they come on the stage and they do this dance party. And Hamikuma wants you to put your hands up, and everyone's dancing and everything. It's just I don't know how else to put it. Like, it's just a very unique experience, and everybody loves it here. Everyone eats it up. I have it on YouTube if you're curious as to what it actually looks like. It's a very different, I guess, vibe.
Is it? I
compared
was going
to
to ask,
the
is it like
US.
an idol type show? Like, are people cheering, like, and doing the thing? And oh my God, I'm about to go watch it now.
Oh, yeah, BK, we're
People are
losing BK to your
dancing
YouTube
and-
channel.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're my new best friend, Chris. We need to talk later.
That is cool. That is something uniquely, maybe not uniquely, but Universal's done very well, where it's like they'll notice something that people kind of like go viral about, like Lil Boo in the States right now. So last year, Lil Boo was that little pumpkin that was kind of looking like I was having a panic attack. The Lil Boo is all over Halloween Horror Nights this year. He's like an unofficial mascot. They made him a body now, and like you can buy Lil Boo on glasses and stuff. And it sounds like that's y'all's version of Lil Boo. I
Or
dig
maybe
that.
Little Boo is our version of that.
Oh, we don't know. When's the timeline?
It's true.
Yeah.
Lil Boo doesn't have a dance, so
Not yet.
that is pretty rad.
They even made merchandise of Hamikuma, and like they have like a little plush keychain. They have a cushion. They have a T-shirt. They have a little like chocolate thing that you can buy, and it's been flying off the shelf. Like, I was lucky enough to get a keychain because they can't keep it in stock. People are just going nuts for it.
Wow.
I want one. I definitely want
Need
to.
it, Jack. I need it.
All right. Well, we'll find you one for Christmas, PK.
Okay.
Man, I'm just I'm fascinated by this. I'm going right now through the Universal Japan just attractions, and it's kind of finding stuff. You guys have Backdraft over there.
Yeah, we still have that.
That's awesome. Backdraft. So Backdraft was a show based off the movie Backdraft, which BK, you're a huge fan of, right?
I'm definitely a very huge fan of the
You're a
movie
big-
that probably existed before I existed.
Big Kurt Russell fan.
Yeah,
Who's that?
wasn't even a great movie, to be honest with you.
Ego from Guardians 2. No.
Oh yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a movie. It's a movie that's all about firefighters. Turns out one is he's lighting stuff on fire.
Oh, Backdraft, like fires. Makes sense.
What were you thinking?
I don't know.
Anyway, it's a cool show. It was kind of like, did you ever do Twister Ride It Out?
The Twister ride?
Yes,
Yes.
the sort of show ride.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
similar to that, whereas basically it's the backdrop. It's this you're watching this warehouse catch fire
Sure.
in front of you, and it's really, really cool. And some of the stuff they learned doing that attraction out in Hollywood, they ended up putting in the Mummy attraction. So
okay.
like the
fire
brain
stuff?
fire
Okay.
that came from there. Anyway, sorry, I got very excited because Backdraft is one of my favorite shows ever, and so Chris, I'm just talking over things that we're doing here. Bert and Ernie's Prop Shop Game Place. Okay,
They used to actually have Backdraft. Again, this is not something they're doing this year, but they've done it in previous years where they turn Backdraft into a horror house.
Whoa.
Horror house. I should be more clear what I say. They would do they would have like the regular show, but then the year I did it, these aliens came and like took over they were invading, and then we had to run out of the building at the end, out the back into this back lot, and they set up a forest where we were getting basically chased by aliens, and we had to escape into this barrel. I don't know what it was.
Gotta hide in the barrel?
This thing. We had to go into this thing, and we had to enter a code to escape, and no one gave us a code, so we're all kind of panicking, pressing buttons, trying to like escape because there's like their aliens and stuff are coming through like the back of the room that we're in, and then all of a sudden we hear this big bang and water like shot out of the. I guess it was a bomb or something. I don't know. It was like this water shot out, and like we all got drenched inside this room. And it's like you died. I'm like, oh.
You didn't make it.
Okay.
What? And wait, was this part of Halloween Horror Nights, or was this just?
Yeah, it was part of Halloween Horror Nights.
Okay, because that would be a lot more confusing if it was like February. And it was like, why are there aliens? Why are we wet? That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I love that idea of like taking shows and normal attractions that you're used to and just kind of tweaking them a little bit. And kind of, like there was a Halloween Horror Nights back in 2005. They did it in both parks. And in the Poseidon's Fury area, that's the one that has this big water tunnel that you walk through. Jeff will do it at some point.
Never been open.
It hasn't been open. They've been refurbishing it since I've been dragging you through these. Part of the house had you going through that tunnel, and they had like these creepy like figures and stuff around you and whatnot. But that's kind of cool. I love the idea of taking what you know and adding a little twist to it. That is so awesome. Tell me a little bit about Hollywood Dream the ride. It's a roller coaster, and that just sounds awesome. Let's see here. An exhilarating ride that's like flying through the sky, created through the originality and cutting edge technology of Universal Studios Japan, and world's leading roller coaster manufacturer. With your chosen soundtrack as background music, an unbelievable thrill will shoot through your entire body. That sounds like Rip Ride and Rocket.
It sounds like Rip Ride and Rocket.
Is it basically a reskinned Rip Ride and Rocket, or is that something different?
No, it's basically Rip Ride Rocket, just not headache-inducing. It's very smooth, but also, so they have two versions of it. You get to pick if you want to go forward or backward.
What?
That's cool.
Wow.
Is it like the same? The track goes the same direction as the cars are flipped around? Okay.
And what they usually do, this isn't just for Horror Nights, but they also do stuff for Cool Japan as well. They'll put like a special song that's limited time that fits the theme of what's going on. So right now it's this Ratata song by a like J-pop group that is infectious. Like it's very infectious.
You said J-pop and BK's ears just perked. I can see them through her
I'm sitting here
headphones
like wondering
right now.
what is the set list. Like there's a lot of genres that you can choose from in Rip Ride Rocket. So I'm like, is it the same there? Like, do I get to ride a roller coaster and listen to Hatsune Miku? Like, I am ready. Like, please.
Meanwhile, you say Ratatata, and I'm thinking of Missy Elliott. So I don't know what's going on here. Anyway.
I'm impressed though with that reference.
Thank you. I
It was very
appreciate
good.
that.
Yeah, if you just go on like Spotify or something and look up, I think J Soul Brothers Ratata, that's the song, and it's ridiculous. It's basically the theme song for Horror Nights for us, and it's very, I don't know, very Japanese, I guess is the best way to put it.
There's a lot of ratatatas, so.
Oh man, I'm just looking through the different attractions, and there's stuff here that's kind of like it's perking my interest. Like for example, like the Jaws ride still exists in in Japan.
That's such a good ride.
It was a fantastic ride. It wasn't an opening ride, but it opened very, very early after they opened up Universal Studios. It is now sitting where Harry Potter Land is sitting, or at least Diagon Alley is sitting. And that would be cool to go on. They have the Jurassic Park River Adventure out there as well. But not only that, the big thing that you guys have that no other Universal Park has right now is the Super Nintendo Land, which is so very cool, and I'm so jealous. And it's coming to Hollywood pretty soon. I think next year's opening in Hollywood, and we're going to get it in Orlando in 2025 with Epic Universe. But that is so cool. Can you talk a little bit about Super Nintendo World and kind of your experiences there?
It's like walking into your childhood. That's probably the best way to put it. When I first walked in there, no word of a lie, I started to tear up because it just felt like childhood. Like they nailed it so good with the music, the aesthetic, everything. It feels like you're honestly walking into a Mario game. It's phenomenal, the job they did with this.
What if you only had a Sega Master System?
Is it going to be a Road Rash world you can go to, or something?
Space Harrier world, Shinobi world?
No, I've done everything I can to see a lot of the land without spoiling it massively. Like, so the Mario Kart Racer game, or the ride, the attraction there, that is one of the coolest technological advances I've ever seen in a theme park, where you can actually keep track of your scores and get better. And there's achievements you can get in the game. It's a slow moving ride, Jeff, where you sit on it and you've got a Mario helmet on that has altered reality goggles. So it has AR goggles on. So you ride through it and there's stuff around you, but then you see stuff that's not actually there. And you're essentially playing a game while riding this attraction.
Really?
Yeah, and you keep track of it. I mean, Chris, you can probably explain it a whole lot better than I could.
It feels like you are in Mario Kart. It is a little slow, but obviously there's going to be like limitations with that. You can't have people going 60 miles an hour. Right.
We can't get no 200cc in this park, right? That's going to be a lot of problems. I didn't sign that waiver.
But yeah, I think it's really cool that you get to keep your score, because you have to buy the power-up band to do that, and it keeps track of that, and the whole achievement system with it. So there's a lot of how do I put it? Like replayability, re-rideability, whatever term you want to use for that. Because I know for me, usually with attractions, if I go to the parks, I'll ride it once per visit. I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Right.
With Mario Kart, it's like, no, I want to do this again. I'm going to go back in that single rider and I want to beat my last score, or there's this achievement that I'm trying to get and I want to go back and do it again. So that was very smart on their part. They really dug into the whole gamer mindset with that, which is, I guess, not surprising. It's Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. And Universal worked very closely with Nintendo to put all this stuff together. I mean, the realism you walk in, I mean, if I said you're going to drop into Super Mario World, it feels like that. You see the coins spinning. And you mentioned the power bands. That is one thing I'm curious about. So you can go and buy a power band. I want to say it's like $30 or so or something. And basically it's kind of like an Apple Watch, about that size. And then there is stuff in the parks that you can actually interact with inside the Super Nintendo World. So they're like question blocks you can hit, and then you'll get like power-ups and stuff. Is that right, Chris? Yeah,
you'll collect coins and random items that are attached to your account. You can look at it in the Universal app, so you can see what you've collected.
That's so cool. And now, tell me if I'm wrong, but isn't there an area that you can actually collect a certain amount of things, or like certain pieces of something, and there's a whole area you need to collect things in order to get to? Like it's kind of blocked off unless you actually have acquired the correct materials. Is that a thing that's true, or did I dream that?
Nope, that's true. There's Koopa Jr., Bowser Jr. So he has like a little lair, and to get into the lair, you have to collect three keys, and there's 5 mini games that you could potentially get these keys from. So you have to have a power-up band to do this, obviously. And you can play these mini games, and the mini games actually increase in difficulty depending on how many times you've played it as well. So it keeps track of all that stuff.
Wow.
Which I think is really cool. Like there's one, I can't remember what the name is called, Thwomp Block Panic, I think, where we have to hit like all these panels on a wall underground, and I played it so many times, it got to the point where I was even failing at it. I'm like, this is hard. Like, how is a 5-year-old going to do this? I can't do this. Like, what's going on? So I think that that's pretty cool. And I don't think a lot of people realize that actually happens.
See, that's stuff that I would dive into immediately. I would spend all day just trying to do all that stuff and collecting all the things. Now, I am curious though, because I'm the super nerd that watches all the vlogs. So I'm watching, Alicia Stellan Theme Park Stop, and all the different various theme park vloggers. And they recently added the new Magic Bands out of Disney. They added like the Magic Band Plus or whatever. And as part of that, it's like a new one that you can kind of like track stuff with, Jeff. So like it attaches to your phone, and like you can do stuff with it, like the big golden statues they make noise, and you collect them, whatever, blah blah blah. There is a game at Batsu, which is the Star Wars area of Disney's Hollywood Studios. There's a bounty hunter game where you go and you get a bounty. You have to track down your bounty, find it behind a door, and then return to the bounty master, and then he'll give you another mission. It sounds awesome, but at least the first week or so of it, there was just a giant line of people waiting to get bounties from people, or from the bounty hunter. So literally, it was like a line like 50 people deep waiting to get to the guy in order to get their next challenge.
Sounds like holocron farming in Star Wars Galaxies. I remember this.
Yeah. So is that a thing that you encounter when you're out at Universal Japan, like on the Super Nintendo World? Because I'm curious, when it comes to the States, is it going to be a thing like, all right, I have to get in line and wait to do my thing? Like you see in Harry Potter World, like the kids doing the magic wand stuff. It's like, okay, I'm going to watch you do it. Cool. Now I'm going to step on the thing and I'm going to do it. Cool. And now the person behind me, they're going to do it. It's like, is it like that, or is it more kind of anyone can kind of pop up and jump into it?
When it comes to like the mini game stuff, there's a lot of queues for that. But there are like random blocks and stuff that anyone can just walk up to and hit. And there's also like hidden achievements around the area. Like there's like there's Mario emblems that are hidden like in the walls and stuff. Like you kind of have to look for them. And if you tap your band, a little 8-bit character will show up like above the symbol, and like those are achievements. Like they're outside, they're in buildings, so you have to like look around for them. There's binoculars to look through, and somehow it tracks it. It knows that you're looking through it if you have your power-up band on, because of RFID or whatever. So you can look through the binoculars, and then that's like all like AR stuff as well, so you can see like Koopa Troopas flying like through the air. So if you kind of like angle it right, you can kind of see like into Wizarding World of Harry Potter. So you can kind of see like things flying over Hogwarts Castle, which is kind of funny. Sightlines, right?
Yeah, IP blending. That's always a fun thing. Now, I'm curious. So when this comes to the States, because we're just a few months away from it coming to Hollywood and a couple of years away from it coming to Orlando. I'm curious how Americans are going to handle that. Totally. I get to hit things in the park. We're going to
handle it like Americans. We're going to break it.
I know. That's the scary thing. I mean, Chris, do you feel like it's like robust enough to handle Americans smashing into it, or do you feel like this is not going to go well over here in the States?
I think the U.S. will be a good stress test to see what happens.
It's a very diplomatic way of saying that.
I mean, I think it'll do fine.
I think people here are a little more gentler with things.
Yeah.
But, I do see like children hitting them as hard as they can, but, it's children. Children aren't going to...
kids aren't
I don't think they're going to break it.
Yeah. His name is... like if a... And here, children is named Jeff. So, oh man,
no, Jack, you mentioned IP blending earlier. Something that I'm curious about is a lot of attractions in the American theme parks are built around whatever the hot new IP is at the moment, like Guardians of the Galaxy. Now there's like 7 different Guardians of the Galaxy rides apparently. How does that stuff translate over to Japan? Are there big IPs that come in that they think it's going to be like, How to Train Your Dragon? It'll be a huge thing here in Japan, and then it just lands with a dud, and it just doesn't connect with them culturally, and they're like, nah, we're not into this.
I think at this point now, like the theme parks have been here for so long, like Universal is over 20 years old now. Yeah. They initially brought over all these like big IPs from the West, like, Jaws, Backdraft. I don't know.
Like it's weird to me that Backdraft is still there and going, because it is long past cultural viability here in America,
Very much, yeah. But I think at this point now, especially with Universal knows its audience very well, that they kind of just ignore what the outside world is doing, so to speak. Especially with like their Cool Japan event. They bring the hottest like anime video game franchises. Like actually, I think just today they started a 4D attraction for Jujutsu Kaisen.
So cool.
Which is like one of the big animes right now. And they just finished Cool Japan, which had Attack on Titan. We had a VR coaster with that. We've had Demon Slayer. We've had Final Fantasy, Monster Hunter. Japan has a really big repertoire of their own creations that I feel like they really don't need to look elsewhere. Yeah. Really.
Are there other parks that we haven't heard of that are just as big as Universal and Disney in Japan?
No, but I think that's going to change in probably 2 months when the Ghibli theme park opens.
Ooh, yeah, that's pretty cool. So I've done a little bit of research on this, and it seems like there's not going to be as many like roller coasters, big kind of pieces like that. It feels like Japan, when they say park, they mean like literal park. It's like you can go and like, you know, have picnics and stuff, and it feels like Ghibli's going to lean more towards that. I could be way off on that, but it feels like there's more like set pieces where you can go kind of enjoy, like, here's an awesome looking structure that looks like something from the movie, as opposed to get on this roller coaster. And am I way off base on that, Chris, or does that sound about right?
No, that's exactly right. Yeah,
nailed it.
I guess it's more of a immersive experience that you can feel like you're actually in parts of these Ghibli films that are so beloved like around the world. So it's gonna be a very different experience, and I'm really looking forward to it. We were able to win the lottery to get tickets to go. So we'll be going in November. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh my gosh. So cool. I'm going to be all up on your social medias and YouTube. Like, I am so jealous. Like, and the food, bro, the food is going to be so awesome. It has to be.
I just want a Soot Sprite. If they make like little plushy Soot Sprites, yeah, Chris, I'll lean on you to see if you can mail us.
From Mononoke. Oh, I would love one.
What is your favorite film?
My favorite film, I like Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind.
Really?
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, but Spirited Away is probably top 3.
How about you, Jack?
I like Kiki's Delivery Service.
Yeah, I'm a Kiki fan.
Yeah, that one's pretty great.
Porco Rosso.
Yeah,
I don't think Evan gets a lot of credit.
Yeah, but before we get too far away from Universal stuff, I do want to ask about Halloween Horror Nights. So, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with Halloween Horror Nights over there right now this year? Because I know like it feels like some of the houses will make the jump over to Japan, but it feels like you guys have a lot of cool, unique ones. Anything especially neat this year?
Standouts?
Yeah.
So this is the first time we've had it back in 3 years, so we're not quite back to normal, so to speak. So we usually have more houses than we typically do.
Okay.
But we have 3 this year. My favorite is Resident Evil. So we have a Resident Evil house. And it feels like a video game. So it's pretty interactive. So how it works is, this one is based off of Resident Evil 2, the remake.
Oh, wow.
So
awesome.
When you go, I guess it's essentially 2 houses. You get to pick either the Leon route or the Claire route. Just like
really?
the game.
God, so cool.
So depending on the side you pick, it's a different experience. And of course, if you pick the Leon route, spoilers, you might see Leon.
Ooh.
And there's also there's a puzzle element to it, because there's like police officers that kind of hurry you through the house because everything's like in a panic, and it is a little intense because there's like zombies coming up down the hallway behind you to kind of get you to move quicker. Things coming out of the windows. There's liquor shows up a few times. I think that's new. And then Nemesis does show up. Or Tyrant.
Tyrant. It's Mr. X, I think, is like the more accurate.
Gonna give it to you.
And then they'll have there's a code that you have to kind of memorize as you're running through everything. So one of the police officers will shine a light on a bloody cardboard box, and there's 2 letters on it or 2 numbers, and they kind of say oh, is this important? I don't know, but we got to go. And then you start running, and then you get to another place, and then one of the police officers shines another light oh, there's something on the wall here. I don't know what that means. Oh God, there's monsters, there's zombies coming. We got to go. And then you run, and then you finally get to this other part where you got to use the code. And then there's also an interactive part with guns, and all of this decides if you live or die at the end.
Make your choice.
It's just like at the game for the game, it gives you a score at the end for your group. Like, did you get SS or A, or did you live? Did you die?
Oh wow!
So it's like it's pretty intense.
So I'm assuming over there, like you go in batches. So, and like in the States, in the Halloween Horror Nights houses, it's just like a constant stream of people going through. But I like the idea of like, all right, here's a group. But like, how many in a group that are going at a time typically?
For this one, I think it was 7 or 8 people.
Wow. That's super manageable.
Man, and like, are the lines like out of control, or is it kind of like people are just used to it and then the orderly queue?
People are pretty much used to it. For this one in particular, they do like a timed entry ticket, so you don't have to wait in the line. You just,
Nice.
As long as you get to the park early enough, you can open up the app and then just get a ticket like for a certain time, and it's free. Like it's like you don't pay for extra unless you buy the express pass. But I think it's great. I love it.
That's so cool.
What
I did it
happens?
like 4 or 5 times.
What happens if you die?
Die in real life. Jeff.
You get that classic screen that shows up.
Oh, really?
So cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh man, I want to go so bad.
I know. I wanted to go. I started this podcast to go to Japan. Now I'm like, Chris is just making me want to go to Japan that much more. Man, and there's one thing, but before we're kind of wrapping it up now, but there's one thing you guys have at Tokyo Disney, the Tiki Room over there. So that Tiki Room in Tokyo Disney, that's the one with Stitch, right?
Yeah, we have Stitch in that one.
Oh my gosh. So BK, do you know about this?
No, I don't.
Okay, you know the Tiki Room, right?
Yes,
the tiki,
yes.
Tiki and the Tiki Room. So it, like, you know, they had in Florida, they had under new management where they had Iago and Zazu
Yes,
who did
I remember that.
and it was horrible. And then they brought back the old classic one. So the one in Tokyo, they initially had the original one, but they altered it, and now they have Stitch there. So Stitch is part of the show, and he like comes out and like sings songs.
He sings like this. Oh, Hannah beats family.
What is going on?
That's
who
so
even
exciting.
Are you?
That's so exciting.
How did you just pull that out?
Who knew? Multi-hyphenate.
All right, okay. So sorry, Chris. I was just thinking of stuff in Japan that's awesome and that I want to check out.
You're excited about Stitch. I'm excited about the whole Atlantis ride that's over there, but you won't talk about that,
We
Jack.
don't need to talk about that. So, okay, Chris, as a final thing for you, tell us 3 things that we should experience. If we manage to go to Japan, manage to go to Tokyo or Tokyo DisneySea, Disneyland Japan and Universal Japan, what are 3 things that we absolutely must check out? Jeff has to qualify it more.
Only if you want to. He's not your boss. He can't make you do this.
What are 3 things we have to check out that's unique to those parks that are nowhere else?
So I guess, for Disney, I would say for an attraction, definitely Journey to the Center of the Earth and Sinbad. I know those are 2 things I'm going to wrap up into one.
Oh my god.
So cool.
Those are 2 attractions you definitely have to experience.
Yeah.
For Universal, Halloween Horror Nights for sure, because it's so different here, and I think it's very wonderful. And of course, all the popcorn flavors.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Both like Universal and Disney popcorn flavors. You got to try them. There's so many different ones. It's ridiculous how many popcorn flavors we have.
Yeah,
popcorn a pretty big deal over there?
Oh yeah. And our popcorn game, our popcorn bucket game is strong.
Yeah, that's
Probably
where
the best.
All the popcorn bucket things that started in Japan. Now, like, people are waiting 6 hours to get a Figment popcorn bucket at Epcot.
Right.
That all began in Japan, and yeah, like kind of like like Disneyland out in California, it's like churros are the big thing, right? And it's like, but yeah, in Japan, it's all popcorn stuff.
You know, I had my first churro in Japan.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That
It was at the breakfast bar at our hotel. Amelia and I were both like, "Oh, I've heard of these," and we finally ate them, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Wow.
That's wild. You have
Fell in love with churros in Tokyo.
You have a Mexican delicacy in Japan. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Chris, thank you so very much for joining us on Annual Pass today. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I cannot wait to get out to Japan and actually go see some of these attractions and ride some of these rides. If anybody wants to watch some of Chris's stuff, go to TDR Explorer over on YouTube. You also can follow him on Twitter. It's TDR Explorer on Twitter, right, Chris?
Yeah, it's TDR Explorer everywhere. I'm pretty much everywhere. You can't escape me.
Nice.
And
Excellent.
if Jack finds himself in Japan and wants to link up with you to go check out theme parks, it's okay if you're busy that day. We understand.
Okay. Noted.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Annual Pass. But before we wrap up here, don't forget, we always ask you guys a question of the audience, and then we're doing our live stream. I think we're doing our next one mid-October-ish, and we're going to go through some of our questions, talk about the answers, and whoever the answers we go through, we're going to pick some, and we're going to mail you guys an autographed theme park map. So the question for today for you to answer in the comments over at roosterteeth.com is, what attraction would you go to in Japan? It could be any park. What's the one attraction you absolutely want to go to? It can be one of the ones we talked about today. It can be one you know about that we didn't talk about. Just let me know, what would you go to, and just make me feel more jealous about all the amazing people who have gotten to Japan and I haven't yet. So yeah, go ahead and answer that over at roosterteeth.com, and we'll go through, pull down some answers, and get to it. And guys, Jeff, did you feel like you learned anything today?
I do. I learned a lot.
Yeah?
Oh, I do have one more question if I'm allowed to ask it.
Chris is still here. He hasn't left. Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, Chris, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, I understand. We're past the allotted time. But I'm curious, are theme parks, like, would you say less of a big deal, exactly as big of a deal, or a bigger deal than they are in America and the Western world?
I would say they're a bigger deal here.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Interesting.
They really are.
I was kind of hoping that was the answer. I don't know why. But yeah.
Well, are there fewer parks in general? Like, I mean, obviously you have your Disney and Universal. Like, are there, we have Six Flags here and, like, your Great Americas. Like, things are kind of scattered about. So it's like you're never too far away from a park. Is it just, are there fewer out there?
We have quite a few. Like, we have roller coaster parks.
Oh,
like we have some. Like, we have Fuji-Q Highland.
Oh, we didn't even talk about Fuji-Q. Oh my gosh, that's the one with the one that breaks your ribs. We're gonna go.
I don't want my ribs to be broken.
I want Jeff's ribs to be broken, though. It'd be fun. Sorry. Okay. So parks out there, like roller coaster parks.
Yeah, we have a lot of those things. We have a Spanish theme park. I think it's called España or something like that. We also have there's a theme park called Eiga-Mura, which is in Kyoto. And it's where they would film like samurai movies. Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's almost like our version of Universal, where it was a movie set first, then they turned it into a theme park. Oh, wow. So you can go back into like the Edo period Japan.
That's so cool.
Awesome.
Pretty cool.
Very cool.
There's like a big theme park boom back in Japan a long time ago. That's why Spirited Away is based off of that boom and all these abandoned theme parks that used to exist over there.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's totally, she sneaks in through the wall.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So it's based off like real life and stuff. So it used to be a big thing over there, and Miyazaki was like super obsessed with it.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, BK, did you learn anything today?
Yes, I learned that I want to go there really bad. Thank you, Chris, though, for like itching that, scratching that itch is how you actually say it. I'm just overwhelmed. Yeah, I'm very overwhelmed.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Chris, for joining us today. And thank you, everyone, for listening and watching Annual Pass. It really does mean the world to me that you guys watch this and listen to this. And I love all the comments. I read everything you guys post. Make sure to follow us over on social media. We're annual_pass over on Twitter and Instagram. Annual Pass Pod on TikTok, youtube.com/annual pass. If you want to see our pretty faces. Or at least BK and Jeff's pretty face, and I'm also here. So, but yeah, check that out and make sure to let your friends know, because these podcasts live and die based on word of mouth. So please tell everybody about it. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. We will see you next time. Stay safe. Talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.